On today's podcast, I'm joined by Ross from Chartwell Noble, and this one goes deep. We talk about what it really takes to build a high-end estate agency, why most agents never reach their potential, and the mindset shift needed to break out the industry machine. Hope you enjoy the podcast. If you're an estate agent listening to this, it's worth asking yourself this simple question. Is your current system genuinely helping you grow? Or is it just helping you manage the workload? Many agencies today are incredibly busy, but still finding the profits, efficiency, and headspace aren't improving at the same rate. Iceberg Digital have taken a different approach. Rather than building another standalone CRM system, they've created what they call a standalone AI operating system for estate agents, bringing prospecting, marketing, CRM, compliance, and even your website into one connected system. The focus is simple: improving revenue per employee and reducing unnecessary manual effort. If you're thinking about future-proofing your estate agency over the next few years, it's definitely worth exploring. You can book a demo at icebergdigital.co.uk. That's icebergdigital.co.uk. Ross, thank you for coming on the podcast. You've most definitely been on the hit list to come on, so thank you so much for making time in your drive to come on today.
Absolute pleasure. Well, thank you for asking. I think we've been trying for a good 6 months to, get me to answer a simple message and book something mainly. But yeah, I think we've been trying for a while, haven't we?
It's tough when you're busy. It's tough when you're busy. So lots of people recognize you from along the towpath and also other social media content online. So sort of behind the towpath, sort of who is Ross when it comes to the estate agency world? How have you got into it? What's the sort of journey been? How have we kind of got to today where we are with Chartwell Noble?
Well, I first started estate agency, oh, goodness me, dare I say, sort of 95, 96, when I was at university, being a Saturday boy, and trying to earn a bit of money that way. And all I was the whipping boy rather than the Saturday boy on a Saturday. And being at university, I was inevitably hungover, so they made my life all fun and games. But no, I learned from a gentleman who was called Mr. Richard Harding, who, for those in Bristol, will know him very well. He's an exceptional estate agent, started an exceptional branding, and I was only there for a very short amount of time. But my learning curve, he and his partner there, it was a very steep learning curve in a very short amount of time. But I was at university studying all things surveying. So I think property was always something I wanted to do, clearly. It's where I'd started. But I didn't go into a estate agency. I went into a business agency. So I went to Christie & Co., which was selling businesses and licensed premises, so pubs, hotels, restaurants, nightclubs, post offices, and everything in between. And that was a very corporate environment, privately owned but corporate environment, hugely successful business, and that was a monstrous learning curve. And I didn't gel with it, to be fair. I thought I was going to. I thought it was a natural fit for me. But I decided that actually it wasn't going to be for me. So I ended up going into the telecoms world, putting up mobile phone masks for a living. So if estate agents think you're vilified, you wait till you start putting up mobile phone masks, then you realise how much hatred is put your way. Yes, I did that for a number of years, and started my own business in London before deciding to migrate back up to the Midlands after a bit of a challenging time down in London, start my life again up here, and joined a firm called Andrew Grant. That was about sort of 16 years ago now. And that was, at the time, it was a large regional player, quite a good one by all accounts at the time. And that was a fantastic experience, and I was in my early 30s then, or very early 30s. So I started again as a junior neg, and deliberately so. So I pressed the reset button on my career. I owned my own business. I'd been a director, and I'd done incredible things in my 20s, which I was very, very proud of, and I'm still very proud of. But I knew I wanted to restart my career, so I did. I thought it would be easy. Because everybody does, don't they? When they go into a estate agency, everybody thinks it's easy. And it soon became very, very apparent that it's not quite as easy as just taking some pretty pictures and sticking it on Rightmove if you're going to do it well. So then went through a variety of companies. Sort of Andrew Grant, a small practice called G. Herbert Banks, then worked for a regional player called Knock Dighton, which is a decent outfit, and I was their sales and director and head of country homes for 8 years. Proud to say that we took that at the time the business to the highest turnover and profitability in its 200-year history, or nearly 200-year history. So, you know, success there with great team at the top level and beneath us, which was a happy journey to be on. But then I had the itch. I wanted to do it for myself. Realized that, as certainly the people I'm now in business partnership with, we were pretty good at what we did, and realized that actually the best thing for us to do was for us to do it together, and let's enjoy the spoils of our many years of experience. But we did that after a lot of soul searching. I think all three of us spent 6 months desperately trying to leave the industry, because we were so, I suppose, disenfranchised, really. Bit fed up with the world and the cycle and the machine and the industry and all things. And actually, what we didn't realise is we were just ready for a change, each of us. So hence why Chartwell Noble was born, really, from that.
How tough was it to go back a step? So obviously you obviously changed industry completely and then sort of started as a junior negotiator effectively in your 30s. How hard was it to take that backward step? 'Cause I'm sure lots of people. So I talk to people every single day and they're like, oh, I earn this much money in my current job. Yeah, I hate it. I want to get into a state agency, but I kind of, I can't sort of wave goodbye to the salary and I'm kind of got slight golden handcuffs there sort of thing. How tough is it to sort of put a line in the sand and go, yeah, I might be used to earning, I don't know, 50, 60, 80 grand a year, whatever it may be, and then kind of go back to the beginning? Because I think lots of people, think about kind of self-employed, kind of going in that direction in the same sort of way of like, there's never sort of a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to do it, but you still got, obviously, you've made the jump already sort of a few times. So what was the sort of mindset around that time?
We have several self-employed people working with us at Chartwell Noble, and so we have this conversation with them a lot in terms of trying to get over that sort of initial fear. And I suppose the real thing is that imposter syndrome, is, can I do what I'm setting out to do? For me, I viewed it as a necessary evil. I could have gone back into telecoms, and I could really great money in telecoms. Of course it is. No one wants to do it. That's why. But it's fantastic money. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to own something, and I knew for me personally, if I was to reset my career, I'd have to start again. I was fortunate. I had no dependents. I was in my, I'd say, early 30s, and I was leaving London and coming back to Worcestershire, which is where I'm based. And frankly, I was in a luxurious position where I was able to stay with my folks for a bit, and try and get on top of everything. But I have to say, there's few things in this world that'll fire you up than people who doubt your ability to do it. And in my first, bearing in mind I'd come from starting my own business, and my ego was a bit fragile, and I was making an effort, but I do have a bit of an ego, as some people will probably tell you. But I was sat there on a Saturday, just doing what all negs do on a Saturday, which is answering the phone and processing offers and booking viewings. And the owner of the business walked in, at Andrew Grant, and he looked at me and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, it's my Saturday to work." And bearing in mind, this is a company of 15, 16 offices. And he said, "Well, no, you're far too junior to be working here on your own." It's like, "I'm going to ask you to say that again, because I think I think I'll be right. This isn't my first rodeo, and it's just a Saturday job. I've come from a pretty big job. I'm pretty sure I can cover this." No, I'm not happy. And he made me feel that big. And even now, he sneers when he hears my name. He loves my business partners. He thinks they're great, but he sneers when he hears my name. I'm proud to say that we have the largest market share in our patch right now. I'm proud to say that we are market leaders in our patch right now, because there's very few things, and I'm quite prepared for that long burn to take effect. But actually, people, and the biggest demon you have is your own, isn't it? Of course, the one that sits on your shoulder and goes, "Are you sure this is a good idea?" And the imposter syndrome kicks in, and I know you're one for that, aren't you? Where you've mentioned that before a few times. But it is something that, frankly, if you can plan out what you want to do and back yourself in the plan and pick the right people, and that's probably the trickiest part, is picking the right people to do it with, then anything's possible. If you'd have told me that we'd have seen what we'd done in 2.5 years 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. I'd have hoped it would be true, but there's no way. But it's because we had a plan, we picked the right people, we took a few risks, and we were prepared to be uncomfortable. If that setup works, anything is possible. But one thing I would say, in terms of picking the right people, is don't believe all the BS that's flying around. You're not going to be a millionaire by taking little Johnny to school in the morning and doing the school run and working part time. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is for me was making sure the plan was right to have a confident step. And I didn't know quite what I was going to do, but I had a pretty good idea.
And I always think that no matter how much experience you have, whether you've been an agent for 10 years, 20 years, 300 years, whatever it may be, there's always a little voice in the back of your head that goes, yeah, but it might work for everyone else, but what if it doesn't work for me? And what if I start on Monday and my phone doesn't ring in the same way that everyone else's phone rings? And sometimes that's a 1% thought, sometimes it's a 50% thought sort of thing, but everyone's always got that sort of little niggling thought that goes, yeah, what if everyone else? But what if I'm that 1 in 100 that doesn't kind of work for?
It works both ways though, doesn't it? Yeah. I think because you can believe your own BS as well, can't you? When you can sit there and go, wow, look, I've just said it myself. Yeah, well, we're market leading this and we're market leading that. Yeah, but that could all go tomorrow. So actually, you've got to be robust enough in your plan. But I think also, I find that having that little demon, that's really powerful because it can be your friend if you know how to weaponize it. Because if you sit there and say, well, why on earth would anybody instruct me? Why on earth would anybody let me sell their property? Why on earth would anybody give me the time of day? Well, that's the question you should ask yourself every morning and every action. Why should they? Because if you can't demonstrate your value to them or your worth to them, you're not going to, well, they're not going to give you the business. And actually the demon will be proven right, won't it? So you've got to learn how to demonstrate that, haven't you?
One of my favorites for a strong way of putting it. One of the most interesting exercises I go through with clients when they start working with myself is literally like question number 3 after what's your exit strategy and whatever it may be. We'll be like, why would I pick you as my estate agent sort of thing? If I had you and 3 other agents out there, and like the grimace and pain and shock on look on people's faces where they're like, oh, you should pick me because I'm your one point of contact.
I sell houses.
Yeah, exactly. I'll work really hard for you, and I'm like, right. By the time we finish having this conversation, you're going to look forward to someone asking you that question.
And I'm really passionate as well, and I love houses, and I love houses.
Yeah, exactly. You want to get to the point where someone asks you the question, why should I pick you? And you're like, yes, like this is my time to shine. Like I've got this up my sleeve. I can literally blow these guys out of the water by
I have the answer to that question.
Absolutely. And it's funny what you say about having sort of believing your own hype. I think Chris Watkins puts it rather well when people say, oh, we've got a 30% market share and we're the market share. And he kind of turns around and goes, well, you're saying that 70% of all people that don't pick you to sell their house then. And you're like, yeah, when you phrase it that way, yeah, it's the other way of looking at it sort of thing. So was there anything particular that sort of happened to you that you obviously mentioned kind of wanting to do it yourself and sort of slightly disillusioned with the estate agency world? Was there any sort of one thing that happened that made you sort of want to go out and start Chartwell Noble, or was it kind of just a combination thing over time?
It was I suppose it was that feeling of, that I hadn't achieved what I wanted to set out to achieve when I'd come back up to Worcestershire. I didn't just set out to be just an estate agent or just this or just that. I wanted to do the lot, and that's probably partly my downfall. Really, is I want to be a little bit too much. But I was determined that I didn't just want to create an estate agency that was exceptional and was super high standards and exceptional quality of marketing. And we our first hire at Chartwell Noble was a media guy, so we had a real vision of how we were going to do it. What I wanted to do was make sure that actually we were going to be able to let other people have the same opportunity that we just created for ourselves, but we'd done the heavy lifting for them, because it's bloody hard work starting your own business from scratch without a model, whether it's us or EXP or whoever else for that matter, or the Moverleys of this world, and Knight Frank are now starting the brokerage style models, and there's all kinds of options out there. But we knew that we didn't want to be like that. We knew that we didn't want to just sell houses ourselves. We do, and we love doing it, and we very much enjoy it. But we wanted to also give people the opportunity to have what we were having, which was like an escape. So I suppose to quickly answer your question, there was a defining moment when I was looking for another job to at the time, what I felt was escape the industry. What I now realize was I just needed to have a change. Um, After 8 years, was that I was sat outside a shop, memorabilia, selling sports memorabilia. It was like a framing company for shirts and this sort of thing. And I was watching this sort of 17-year-old lad with a hoodie, covered in muck, smoking a vape, and he walked back in there, and I looked and I thought, what am I doing? I mean, what a waste of all these years of experience to go and work as a sales director, in a company like that, which, transferable skills maybe, probably wouldn't have got the job, probably would have felt terrible about myself. But actually, I was sat there going, what am I doing? I've got vast experience in this industry. I know of all kinds of people right now who are looking to leave the industry. We all do. I'm sure you know plenty, Chris, who are looking to leave the industry right now. And my plea to them is, don't. You've got great experience, and it usually 9 times out of 10, it's not the industry that's the problem; it's where you sat in the industry, and that with the right support, the right training, the right freedom, you can achieve incredible things. But don't believe all the hype, because you're not going to be earning 6 figures in the first 12 months. I think that's the key.
How do you maintain that sort of standard across the board? Because obviously, when you start a business and you have a brokerage, effectively, you obviously are the main point. Then, obviously, as the business owner, inverted commas, sort of, you're passionate, you're keen, you're enthusiastic. You're like, it's my baby. I want every property to be 10 out of 10. I want every sales call to be like this. But then when you start expanding that out and having, partner agents, for example, and obviously it becomes a bigger business than just sort of what you can see on your desk, effectively. How do you maintain those standards so that when you turn your back or go on holiday, or people just do their own thing, that sort of standards are maintained across the entire industry and they don't just slip sort of behind your back?
I suppose it's down to, well, it begins at who you partner with, and we call them partners rather than, sort of agents, because they're not estate agents, they're business owners. And frankly, they've got to act like it, they've got to feel like it, they've got to perform like it, they've got to be accountable to themselves like it. We have said no to a vast number of people, and the numbers that we're talking about, our seventh has just signed up. At this time, we've got another 3 who are in the pipeline. So we'll be, hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be in excess of 10. Now, for 2 years, we'll take that. We're not a scaling model where we are after hundreds and hundreds of agents with a view to exit, or raise funds against it, or anything like that. We are here massively motivated by helping the right people have the right opportunities. And as such, we have a gate that you've got to work bloody hard to get through. And most of it's chemistry. If I feel I can trust those people, or we feel we can trust those people, then that's a pretty good go. We've had some very lovely people who are very skilled at being estate agents. One of whom would have come with millions of pounds worth of instructions and tens and tens and tens of £1,000s worth of fees for us, and would have walked in the door with it and would have carried on. And we said no. Sometimes we regret having said that, but frankly, you're right. When we're not in the room, we don't know what would have been happening, and whether that person would have been just destroying our brand. We've worked very, very hard to generate our own individual personal brands. That phrase I'm not a big fan of, but also the company brand. And consistency is key. So whilst they joined us because they liked what they saw, and they don't just join us for the freedom. They get that, but they get autonomy, but they get support, they get a framework, and it's freedom within that framework. It's that phrase, isn't it? It's freedom within the framework. We set the framework, and they bounce around as much as they like within there. But going beyond that, then yeah, there is accountability, and we can call call an agent or a partner and sit there and go, look, you can't be doing that. So that, I suppose, there's mutual understanding, frankly, but it's about, we've done it ourselves, Chris. We set it up ourselves. We've done it before. We know what we're doing. We haven't just come up with a clever idea and we're estate agents, but we're not really. We're business we're brokerage owners that know how to scale a brokerage. We are estate agents. We are currently the next door in this room next door. That is an estate agency that is ours. We sell houses on a daily basis, and I'm doing very well at it. So we've proven the concept. So people come to us because they want to replicate what we've done, not just earn a quick buck at any expense. There are lots of ways to go and do that. So I suppose really for me, in terms of maintaining that consistency, first thing is making sure it's the right person, making sure the chemistry is right. But then it's also about making sure that the brand guidelines are in place for us, because for us, it's about having the brand behind the agent, not in front of the agent. So the agent gets supported by the brand, and gives them something they can leverage. And really, it's about making sure that they're confident in their abilities. And I think if they trust us, so my job is purely to work with the agents and to do sort of business development and bits like that. But my job is to grow them, to train them, to give them guidance and mentor them from a business perspective and from an estate agency perspective. And I think, when they've listened a few times and it works, they tend to trust. And if they trust, they tend to be reluctant to sort of stray away from what would be deemed to be the right thing in terms of the brand. So I think really that's it: trust and chemistry.
And how do you ensure as much you possibly can do? So you mentioned obviously bringing on the right people, and the right people are obviously talented people. So therefore, you've got sort of the winning formula, inverted commas, sort of on your business already. You would hope they would do well. How do you ensure that those people stay with you for the long term and don't sort of, I don't want to say use you is the wrong way of putting it, but kind of stay with you for 1-2 years or so, get their feet under the table, build a bit of personal brand, and be like, oh, I'm off to start Chris's estate agency. Something. How do you maintain?
I'll tell you in about 6 months' time, and if any of them have left me. So I think I look. There's got to be a degree of trust, and there are safeguards in place contractually for ourselves. But let's be honest, we all know that's not. That is it worth the paper it's written on? Probably not. It's as with all things, isn't it? I think it's business, isn't it? Mutual respect, trust, all the rest of it. The answer is always yeah, but it's business, isn't it? So I'm a big believer in making sure that the brand can provide enough that they don't want to walk away, and the platform that we've put in place is rammed full of tech, as they all are nowadays, rammed full of our own intellectual property, which is exclusive to Chartwell Noble. Nobody else owns it. It's only us. Lots of AI assistant tools that we've got, which are, I think one of the most commonly used phrases in our morning meetings is I love Pappy, and Pappy's our AI tool that sits in the business. And we built that. That's ours. And we've got, it's the tech stack that we've got, how to use that tech stack, but also when they're in a morning meeting, and bear in mind the market changes on a daily basis, as we've just laughed about, having somebody in your corner that isn't basically telling you what to do, but is genuinely invested in your best interests, that's really empowering. Well, phrase, I'm not a big fan of the word empowering, but that's really that's freeing in a way that gives you confidence. If you go out on your own, that's a really lonely place. And there are models out there that say they support, but they don't. And there are models out there that give the level of support that we give. And this isn't a pitching thing for Chartwell Noble. It's a difference because, we take a slice of a pie that frankly we earn. You get me at 10 o'clock every morning if you want it. You don't have to, on a Zoom call or not a Zoom call, a team call, isn't it? But and that level of consistent support and the admin tech that the admin support we've got here, and the operational support that we've got here, and how we use our tech, because anybody can have a lot of the tech we've got, but it's how you use it that's the difference, I think, is the main thing, really. So yeah, they're all welcome to leave, and one of them has even emigrated to France and doing very well for himself out there now, and we're still very much in touch. However, if they want to go, they want to go, but actually we're confident that they can have a very successful life and a decent business here.
I think that the job of any brokerage or partnerage, a partnerage deal in any kind of business is to make yourself the absolute no-brainer of like, yeah, I could technically speaking leave Ross or I could leave Chris, I could do my own thing, but why would I want to? Like, they charge me this percentage, but the amount of money they bring in, like, way more than covers that, and I'm happy that, like, it should be look at it and go, yeah, that's like a safe bet. Like, why would I go? So that's a sign that you're doing sort of the right things in that direction.
Yeah. And it's the hive mind as well, isn't it? I mean, we we kept the numbers deliberately small, and we will continue to keep the numbers deliberately small. If we go over 100 agents, we're just way over what we should be. We don't need to be anywhere near that. 30, 40, if we get up to 50, I'd be really surprised. It doesn't need to be that for us. And that gives us the opportunity to really focus and hone down on those individuals. So for us, we started with this grand plan of going, right, let's go all over the country. Let's go mad. Let's splatter out. Let's see how many agents we can bring in. We're like, no, that's absolutely not what we want to do. So we've got agents in the South Cotswolds and Wiltshire and up in Shropshire and what have you. But actually, we're building around Worcestershire now, where we're based. So we're out to Herefordshire and North Gloucestershire and into parts of the West Midlands, because actually we can dedicate a bit more time to them. Because actually this is what we're driven by. We want to help people. So we want to spend time with them, and we can't help them unless we can spend time with them. So if we're up to 100 people, you're not getting me. You're getting somebody in a contact center, or you're getting somebody who's a supporter of some description who might not be there in 3 months' time, and because they don't care about the brand, they don't care about you. They're just doing a job, whereas we're your business partners. And that's, I think, the fundamental difference for us. And that's where we get so frustrated that we hear these people who have these amazing skills and have a small pot of money that's just enough to get them through until they start invoicing, and fingers crossed it's okay because I can recruit as well and they'll earn me money, and there's lots of different ways. It's just it's snake oil. It's not real. There is just a sea of people out there who are hugely talented in this industry, who could do incredible things, who have been chewed up and spat out. I even went on Rightmove the other day and I saw a banner as I'm scrolling through with a recruitment for estate agents on it, not for selling houses, just recruiting. And I'm like, wow, that's, with a six-figure number in it, saying you could earn this much money. You're going to churn up and spit them out, and they're going to waste 20 grand's worth of savings.
Yeah, I see it every week, and we send out an email every single week to 7,000 self-employed estate agents in total. And I look at the bounce back every single week, and I'm like, oh, that one's closed down, that one's closed down, that one's closed down, and it's unfortunately more than you might expect. So I can most definitely, yeah, back that one up to say the least. Talk me through. So obviously, when you started your own business here, you've had a blank piece of paper, and you've gone, we can make it anything we like. We can make the logo blue, red, yellow, whatever. We literally can do anything we like here. What made you want to focus on sort of the upper end of the market as opposed to sort of regular properties, or whatever the expression is there?
Um, I suppose two reasons. Primarily, it's because it was our experience. I'd always worked in country house teams. My business partner George had been head of country houses. He'd been working at Knight Frank and head of country houses for the local agents, Halls and Andrew Grant, and Stuart had been working in a similar environment. So for us, it was a natural fit to continue. We'd already got the little black book. We'd already got the knowledge, and people sort of knew who we were. So we also knew that the way it was currently being done was pretty rubbish in the area. And one of our biggest frustrations is we knew we could do it better, but we weren't allowed to. So we sat down and we plotted, and we sat around a cauldron and what could we do? We looked at the numbers and we thought, well, we could do mass market because that's a market, it's there. But actually the best market we felt was there was huge opportunity. And actually, ironically, us leaving the companies that we were in created a bit of a vacuum. So let's fill the vacuum we've just created with our own business, because there was other brands out there who are very, very good brands, and are very good at what they do, but they weren't going forward. Nothing was moving forward. So we thought, well, let's mix it up. Let's do something different. So we came in, we threw a hand grenade into the patch and mixed it up a little bit. So for us, it was always going to be that. But we also knew that there was a small number. We knew David, of course, knew the guys at Mooley, and we knew, a couple of other the country house department. There was a small number of high-end brokerages who were just, some were very fast and some were gentle and some were a bit like old fine country of old, and some were like, this, that, and everybody got a different way, but nobody was going to do what we were going to do. And as slowly as we were going to do it. So that's what we thought. There's two reasons. A, because we've got the experience ourselves, a lot of experience, but we've got about, I think we worked out about 80 years worth of experience between us in the country house market, which, we'll take that any day of the week. But also we thought that there was an opportunity at the time, and we still think there is, to offer a brand to people rather than just a brokerage to people at the top end.
And you obviously have gone into that marketplace. Obviously, 80 years of experience is crazy in the grand scheme of things. That's a great figure to have. If you
and frontline experience as well, Chris, not just working in those brands, actually frontline. We've been selling houses as well. So we've got the t-shirt. What is it? We've been there, man. We've got the t-shirt.
you've got the scars and everything to prove it. And I'm sure many agents listening into this think to themselves, God, I wouldn't mind some of that sort of upper money market sort of area. I wouldn't mind going for a few more expensive houses.
Yeah.
If you were a mass market agent at the moment, think to yourself, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting one or two sort of more premium properties here or there. Is it possible to sort of do the higher end properly and also be mass market at the same time, or do you need to pick your lane and go for it?
I'm gonna, as you could expect, change the sort of perspective on that. How far can you stretch an elastic band before it snaps? Price bands are a band. The whole idea of what we do, not us, but in the industry, the successful agents, they work out what they're best at and they stick to it. It's the Seth Godin smallest viable audience scenario. You pick your best audience and you stick to it, and you create your niche, and you just go hammer and tongs at that. And we know that Simon Ledbetter and Chris Watkin are all about sort of hyperlocal. Pick your smallest viable audience and go with that. If you want to choose premium end of the market, you don't just go for the biggest houses. You've got quite a variety to choose from. You've got everything from farms and sporting estates, where you're going to be selling something that's maybe got 1,000 acres sporting rights, a village, a stunning Queen Anne manor house, through to a very smart footballer's mansion in sort of the edge of the nearest city that you live in. If you try and do all of those, you're going to fail. It's as simple as that. So you got to pick your niche and you got to stick to it. So if I were we have a young lad that we've talked to, and he's brilliant. He is just, my goodness me, he's an absolute weapon, this chap. You just point him and he's gone. And I can't wait to get my hands on him because I know that with the right training and support, he's going to be exceptional. And I just want to get my hands on him and make him just reach his full potential. He looked at what we do and his eyes just, I'm going to make a fortune, aren't I? I was like, well, let's just slow you down there, kiddo. You're selling how many houses a month? Yeah, you're not going to be selling that many houses. That's the market that we're dealing in, not just an agent. And I think when you're looking at the top end of the market, yes, people can dip in and out. And I see the brokerages have got their inverted commas premium sort of leaning, and that's fine. You can't dip in and out of the market like that. You can't build momentum in a market that relies so heavily on experience and professionalism and proven track record and not volume. I think if you try and do volume, there's no secret. The largest market share, and I have no doubt David Lindley would have said to you when you spoke with him last time, that the market share for the nationals is now shrinking, and the market share for people doing this, the smaller agents, and the is significantly growing. And he's the stat man. I don't do stats quite like he does, but it is, we play in the same space, David and I, and from a very different perspective, but very much in the same space. And I think if you're it's fine to make the jump, but you've got to go all in. I think if you're going to sit there and go, I fancy selling a big, nice, posh house, fine. Okay, then start up a premium brand or buy in a premium brand. Other fine countries are available, etc. And do that, but don't try and do it with Joe Blogg's estate agency, because your word art logo and your Rightmove feed, it's not enough. You've got to go full tilt into it. It's hard work.
Can we talk about money and fees, if that's okay? Because I know you're a man who's passionate about agents charging the right amount and not kind of a race to the bottom.
Where do you think? That quiet. I thought I kept that to myself. I've not been subtle enough.
Not subtle enough. Where do you think agents are going wrong with regard to the fee they're charging at the moment?
They're selling their services, not their worth. It's as simple as that. They're not selling the worth that they bring to the client and the impact they will have on the outcome to the client. And there are all manner of ways that you can do that, most of which are surprisingly easy when you work it out. But I'm a big one for the very big difference between price, cost, value, and worth. And if you don't know the difference between those, you're going to struggle to get a decent fee. We've just won an instruction on a property at £1.5 million. One agent was charging 2%, and was never going to get the business because they were punching, but trying to charge 2%. One was charging 0.75 and sold the house to them and has the largest market share in that patch of houses for sale. And we won the instruction of 1.5% plus marketing up front. And the reason for that is because we were able to not just list the services we provide, but also the outcome that it will provide to the client. I don't just mean you'll get more money in your pocket. All of the user experience, all of just everything you do, and everything for us, it was an important one to make sure when we chose Chartwell Noble as a brand and how with the pretty pictures and that we do and all the rest of it, that it's an aspirational brand, and that, to have our brand, you feel like you're associated with something. So Simon, when he came on our tape show, he turned around and said, I'm a Knight Frank house or I'm a Savills house. Well, we wanted people to believe they were a Chartwell Noble house. And for us, Chartwell Noble, we have very specifically framed it so that it doesn't just have a fee attached to it. It has a feeling. It draws on emotion, because it's emotion that pays the fee. It's not the human being. It's the emotion that the human being feels that pays the fee. They're the ones that make the decision. Everybody sits there and thinks that it's a human being that makes a decision. It's not. It's the chimp, isn't it? It's the one that sits in the head. And you've got everything from your copy on your website to the way your phone is answered, to the photographs that get taken, to the conversation you have in the front room, to how you deliver your fee, to the nurture journey well before that agent has ever called you out. Even for us as a brand new agency, as a brand new agency brand, you've got to be able to demonstrate the outcome, not just the list of services. And that's really hard to do, but when you nail that, that's doable.
I feel the trap that lots of people fall into, and it's an easy trap to fall into, to be fair, is the sort of the features versus benefits sort of conversation. And it's just, we're open 24/7. We do floor plans, we do pictures, we do so. And it's kind of like, unless you give me a darn good reason why I give a monkeys about all these things, I simply don't care. Like,
I think we were talking about, isn't it? Why should I? And it's so discounting. It just frustrates me. I understand that at times you may want to incentivize a client to come with you because the worth to you is greater than it is to them. So if there's a phenomenal property that I really want, I mean, Chris, it's something else. It's lovely. It's going to look great on my books. I know there's other agents who are going to probably get it because, they've got their kids go to school with their kids or something like that. I'm not ashamed to say that one of these houses behind me, we probably got on for a flat fee of 10 grand, rather than the 20 grand we could have made. But actually, frankly, that was because I knew that I would be able to use the assets. I knew that I would be able to use the story. I knew that I would be able to get them to do testimonials. I knew that they would support us on social media. They were influencers in their local community. So actually, the fee that I got from them was greater than the money. As an independent and self-employed agent, that to me means that their value was greater. So I was prepared to take that journey. But discounts, never discount your fee, because you have worth. For us, we sit there and we put Chartwell Noble on the screen. And we say to the agents, how much do you think that is worth in a front room? 1%, maybe, just on its own, just Chartwell Noble to represent the client. 1%, right? Okay. So if you're offering 1%, what are you bringing as an agent? What are you bringing to the table? And at that point, discounting happens at the point that tension enters the room. And the minute tension enters the room, discounting joins it. And the skill of an agent, the absolute skill of an agent, is to just absorb the tension and just to reframe conversations. And there are all kinds of ways, as I said, you can do it. And there's the Simon Gates, who does the most incredible stuff. And there are the agency trainers galore out there now. It's Chris Watkins' fault. He said about 5 years ago that they're out there, and now we're all at it, aren't we? But but it's true though, isn't it? There are all kinds of people who come up with these amazing. I mean, what you've done for the industry in terms of how you're raising the game. And helping people achieve their sort of, or reach their skills set, rather than just sit there, not really knowing what to do with it, because we've all been there, haven't we?
Yeah.
It's key. If you go in there sitting there going, I've got a pretty logo and a feed to Rightmove, and I can take some photographs, and it's 1.5%. And little Johnny, he's going to answer the phone on a Saturday, and maybe he might dial the right person to book the viewing. That's not going to get you a fee. You've got to demonstrate it. For us, it's cradle to grave. You deal with who you deal with from day one. There are other brokerages out there and other agencies out there that have contact centers and all this sort of thing. But for us to get the highest of fees and warrant it in a fee war, because it's been like that for years now, you've got to be able to demonstrate that the emotion is there for them to be compelled to say yes.
Ross, I feel like we could talk all day. I'm going to say, I feel like we could keep this going all day. We could make it into a 3-hour podcast if we both had time to do it. Thank you so much for coming on today. You've been an absolutely brilliant guest, to say the least. And it's been, it's so great to hear your thoughts and views, obviously, with your experience. And obviously, you guys are doing some great work with your own business. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been really good.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.